Hey, good morning and welcome to Forest Park Church Online. We are so glad to have you this morning, and if you're new, we'd love to say a very special welcome to you. If you would, take a second and fill out a virtual Connect card. You can go to fplive.org/connect and just fill that out so we can have a little bit of information and get to know you a little better, and that'll keep you in the loop and make sure you know everything that's happening here at Forest Park. We want to start with the question of the week, and this week we want to ask your favorite ice cream flavor. So in the comments right now, go ahead and comment your favorite ice cream flavor. Personally, I am a pistachio person. Love pistachio. It is one of the best flavors of ice cream. So again, right now in the comments, make sure to comment your favorite ice cream flavor for the question of the week. Before we continue in our service, I wanted to give you a quick reminder that we meet in person on the first Sunday of every month. And so on September 6th, we are going to be meeting in person outside under our pavilion, and we would love to invite you to come out, join us, bring your favorite chair, and it's going to be a great time at 10 a.m. on September 6th. We also want to say a big thank you for your giving. Your continued giving has really supported us throughout this quarantine, and we are so grateful for everyone who's stepped up in their giving financially. And if you need any help finding out how to give, you can message us, call us, and we just want to say thank you again for your financial giving. Your generosity has allowed us to keep reaching our community, and we are so grateful for everyone who has given financially. Alright, so now we're going to get into worship, and I'm so excited for the service today.
Let the king of my heart be the mountain where I run, the fountain I drink from, oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the shadow where I hide, the ransom for my life, oh, he is my song. You are good, you're good, oh, you are good, you're good, oh, you are good, you're good, oh, yes, you are good, you're good, oh. Let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves, oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days, oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the wind inside my sails, the anchor in the waves, oh, he is my song. Let the king of my heart be the fire inside my veins, the echo of my days, oh, he is my song. 'Cause you are good, you're good, oh, you are good, you're good, oh, you are good, you're good, oh, you are good, you're good, oh. You're never gonna let me down. 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 Come on! You're never gonna let, you're never
Hey Forest Park, I'm glad to welcome you to part 2 of our continuing series, Normal is Overrated. The heart behind this series is simply to say that even though someone on the outside might look as if they have life figured out and they know the answers to most of life's perplexities, that's not true. None of us are normal in the sense that we have it all figured out. The more you get to know somebody, the more you realize that they have problems too. They have issues as well. And today is a little different, and I'm really excited about this because I'm moving away from just the teaching part, and I'm actually going to sit down with a friend and talk to my friend about what it means to struggle through what a lot of people would consider abnormalities, some problems in life, and how to balance that with going to work every day, coming to church, and learning to kind of cope and figure out balance in your life. So really excited about this. So we're going to jump into this interview. What I want you to do is to sit back and just really listen to the heart of this story, listen to the heart about what God is doing in this person's life. And I'm hopeful that when this is over, you're going to learn more about yourself, you're going to learn more about God, what Christianity is about, and you're going to see that trying to become normal is really overrated. Well, today I've got my friend Deb Cheek with us. Deb, welcome to our series. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Scott.
You are welcome. I've looked forward to this interview for quite a while. You and I have become friends.
Yes.
Yeah, you've been at Forest Park for how long?
It'll be almost 6 years.
6 years, yeah. And when you first came to Forest Park, we were in the other building.
We were in in the old sanctuary.
Right.
Yes, it was really exciting. I still remember with the bulldozer.
Oh yeah.
And we dug the hole.
Oh yeah.
And we put our little prayer cards in there.
Yeah. And we're sitting right on top of all those prayers.
And we're sitting right on top of those prayers.
Yeah, that's right. And for those of maybe our audience that have no idea what we're talking
Right.
about, that day we met right here, which was an empty field at that time. And we passed out cards, and people wrote the names of a brother or a sister or a friend or a parent, not connected to a church, not following Jesus, and said, these are the people we're praying for. And then we had a big hole, and we threw them in because that was going to be kind of the groundbreaking day.
Yes.
And then we built the church on top.
Right on top of those prayers.
That's right, on all the names of the people. And that was an exciting day. I still remember that. It's hard to believe that's been like 5 years ago.
5 years ago.
Yeah, so 6 years ago, I guess, when you were here.
Yes.
Anyway.
We were just preparing.
Yeah, so it's been a joy getting to know you. And actually, in this series, you're the first one that I'm sitting down with. And I'm so excited, and I'll tell you why, and I want our audience to know this. If someone comes into Forest Park and they do not know you, but they just see you from a distance, what they will notice is it's the same thing I notice every time I come, and that is a joyful demeanor you have, a smile. You're sitting on the front row every single time you're here. As soon as the music begins, typically you're clapping, hands are lifted. There's just a joy.
There is a joy.
There is. There's a joy that it just exuberates from you. And I think someone would probably look at a distance, from a distance you and go, wow, I don't know who that lady is, but she's got life figured out. She's full of joy, full of happiness. She seems to love Jesus with everything inside of her. She knows all the music. She's taking notes during the pastor's sermon. I mean, you're the ideal person for a pastor. You're right there in the front. But I know your story. And that is not always, or at least it's not, and maybe somewhat true today.
Right.
But if we go back 6-8 years ago, that is not
the
true.
case.
So I want you to just take a few minutes and just give us a window into where you were about 6 or 8 years ago before you came to Forest Park. Give us a little picture of what that looked like in your life.
I can sum up a lifetime.
Yeah.
Up to the point I came through those doors.
Yeah.
On one piece of paper, and I promised myself just random fluid thoughts.
Right.
And if you wouldn't mind reading that, there are some sensitive things there that might be hard for some people to hear.
Yeah.
But please.
Yeah. Alcohol, abortion, abandonment, physical and emotional, rape, 3 failed marriages, childhood sexual abuse, emotional abuse, child abuse, drugs, sex, self-hatred, shame, eating disorder, anxiety, depression, psychosis, memory loss and repression, suicide, bipolar spectrum, misery, and hopelessness. That describes where you were? That describes what you went through?
Let me put it in perspective. That's a lifetime of wreckage. That's a lifetime, that's a battlefield of wreckage. And that's just the highlights.
Just one of those would be a tremendous amount of pain.
But the thing is, when you're just fighting for survival, you get through one, and then you get through the next, and the next thing you know, decades have gone by. But eventually, you're holding it all together. You're holding it all together, and you think you shine it all up on the outside, and then it just came crashing down.
Do you think most people would have known that by looking on the outside?
No.
Okay, so you
No.
say you polish it up. You kept an image on the outside.
Yes, I was successful in my career. I had a successful naval career. My house, everything looked from the outside just fine.
How did you do that? Where did you put all the pain? Where did you file
Numb.
all the misery?
Numb, shut down, turn your emotions off, make your heart cold, become cynical, hopeless, heartless. And it just got to, and the anxiety and depression, and I just tipped over the edge. I thought I was having a heart attack at work one day. It turned out to be anxiety. I was in the hospital. That should have been a warning sign. I didn't pay attention to it.
And that was because of suppressing.
Yes.
And eventually it just came out.
It just came out. And it got so bad, I couldn't work. I didn't eat. I wasn't functional. And quite frankly, I think my children had kept me going for so many years. I had to hold it together. I had to hold the family together, even if it was just me and the children. I had to keep things together. And then once I felt kind of like they don't really need me anymore, it's okay for me to step out.
So you were really just holding it together to get through that season when they were young and you felt as if they needed you. And as soon as you got through that, you thought life was not worth going on.
It was too painful.
And you said that was 2014. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay, so that's 6 years ago.
That's 6 years ago. And I think it was the years of carrying those rocks.
Right.
Carrying that shame, carrying that sin,
Right.
carrying that brokenness, and not having any anchor in my life to guide me through it.
Wow.
So I'm just fighting and clawing my way through life the best I can with
Right.
no playbook.
Right. Wow.
So-
But we're going to get to how it was shortly after that you came here.
Yes.
But you shared with me before that you had a real issue with church. Like that, it was not something that was easy for you to come to church.
No.
So what happened that would make you avoiding church, not wanting to go, almost an anxiety attack, just walking into a church building? So how did you get there?
My first marriage, I started going to my mother-in-law's church. And then in my second marriage, I was attending my husband's family church. And both those experiences were, I heard the grace and love message got me through the door. But when I got through the door, I felt worse when I left. Because I couldn't be that. I could never achieve what I thought they were asking of me.
Yeah. And now what year was that, approximately?
Approximately 1986.
Oh, okay.
87.
So it was a long time before
Yes.
2014.
Yes.
So you were outside of church for years.
After
years.
that,
That was it. You were
I was done.
All right,
And
so you walked away from church
I
and
walked
said,
away.
okay, I tried God, tried church, that didn't work. And then your life just progressively
Spiraled.
got worse and worse and worse until we come to 2014
And the suicide.
and the suicide attempt.
Yes. So it was probably 2 or 3 weeks after I got out of the hospital, and I had a lot of time in the hospital to think.
Yeah.
But when I got out of the hospital, I knew where I needed to be. And I needed to be, and I needed to find
Yeah.
whatever was calling me.
So how did you end up at Forest Park?
Okay, so Google.
Yeah.
And I saw no perfect people allowed. And I said,
Oh, that's me.
that's the place. That's the place.
Wow.
I mean, and I
So you
read
literally
and
found Forest Park online?
Online.
Just looking?
just looking.
Wow, that's
Just
amazing.
because I needed I knew what I needed.
Yeah.
So it was that or eeny, meeny, miny, moe.
Right. So tell me about okay, so you see this church online. That means you didn't have necessarily people here, so you didn't really have someone to sit with or walk you around or break the ice for you. That first Sunday was a cold call. You had
That-
to walk in by yourself
Yes.
in the middle of all the pain and everything going on, and you had no idea what church was going to be like. So
Yes.
how did you feel when you pulled into the parking lot?
Terrified.
Terrified.
I got here 30 minutes early because I wanted to give myself a chance to either fight or flight.
Right. Right.
Was I going to fight my fear and go in, or turn around and go home?
Wow.
And I took anxiety medication, downed it with a bottle of water, waited 20 minutes,
Yeah.
walked through the door,
Wow.
and all I saw were smiles. The people were crowded around the doors waiting to get in,
Yeah.
talking and laughing and chasing kids and hugging, and what was this?
Yeah.
And I'd seen it before, so
You were suspicious.
I was
Yeah.
suspicious.
Right. It can't be this good.
Right.
People can't be that loving.
Where's the
Right.
catch?
Right. Where's the fine print?
Where's the fine print?
Yeah.
What'd you
Wow.
put in the water
Right. Right.
with these people?
Yeah. Did you come back the next week?
I
Or did
did.
you wait? Okay,
Oh,
you came
no.
back.
I knew I was home.
Wow.
It took
Now it
one
took
Sunday.
you a while to get involved though, because today you're very involved.
Yes.
But it took you a while, and you shared with me a little bit about that journey, getting involved, and that was
Yes.
very purposeful, very strategic
Very
for
strategic.
yourself. I mean, it
Yes.
really was. Tell me a little bit about that. Because
That
that's
was
very interesting.
That was part of my growth journey.
Okay.
Once I started healing and I had become, I was getting fed here spiritually. I was growing and learning, and I got hooked up with First Impressions, and that was great for me because, number one, I got to battle my social anxiety, and in a loving environment that was supportive. I was handheld through the process.
Right.
I mean,
Yeah.
really, my team leads were wonderful.
Yeah.
My team was wonderful. They knew I was scared. They knew I was nervous.
And you're very involved today. You still
Yes.
serve in our First Impressions team.
Yes.
You're also part
Love
of our
it.
Awaken group that we
Yes.
have on Monday
Love
evenings, which
that.
is a small group that we get and talk about books. And you've gone quite deep in reading and in Christianity and doctrine and just studying through, I think we're in our fourth book now, third or fourth
Yeah.
book, and you've been at almost every meeting we've had, and
Yeah.
you're growing, and that's amazing. People might listen to what you're saying now and go, okay, well, there's a story of a person who becomes a Christian, goes to church, and then life is great from that point on, and life is happy-go-lucky. But that is not true. You still have
Struggle.
recurring. You have days, no doubt. I would imagine.
Yes.
That you haven't told me this, but I imagine that you get up and go, okay, I've got to get through this day.
Yes.
You still have those triggers at times. Probably
Yes.
either you meet someone, you could hear a song.
Yes.
You could just have a series of things go wrong at work, and some of that stuff begins to creep back up. Okay. So tell me what's different now than 10 years ago or whatever. How do you deal with that today that's different?
Because I have a framework.
Okay.
I found that there's always an answer.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that, but there is always an answer. And I just didn't know, I wasn't looking in the right place for it. And I started looking in the right place, and I started looking deep. I mean, the first book I read before I even picked up a Bible again was Mere Christianity
By C.S. Lewis.
by C.S.
Yeah.
Lewis.
Which is a book I'm sure you would recommend for all people to read. Again
Yes,
and again.
again and again and
Yeah.
again.
One of the best books ever written.
One of the
Yeah.
best books ever written. But that's when I knew that I had been off track and tripping and falling, and I knew the answer
Yeah.
was, I knew what the goal was in
Yeah.
my heart.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, let's go outside of Deb a little bit, and let's talk to some of the people just listening in to your story. You're not a therapist, so I know that you're just going to give an opinion on this, and there's not a scientific research behind it, but just based on what you've seen and based on the people you interact with, how many people you think are hiding a lot of scars and wounds and pain behind a mask? Today we always are wearing masks,
Yeah.
but it's such really a picture almost of what is really going on.
Yes.
We go into a store and people literally have mask on today because of the pandemic, but the truth is people have been wearing masks for a long time, and we just couldn't see them.
Yes.
So what would you say? How many people do you think? Half the people? 80%
Oh, more
of
than
people?
half. I would say 80%
Wow.
at least. I mean, some people may be more resilient, and some people, but everybody is hiding pain and scars and hurt.
Yeah.
But if you have some foundation, some resiliency that's been built into your life, I think that, you tend to navigate those ups and downs with a roadmap,
Right.
with some guidance and hope, and I think a lot of people, if you don't have that, you're putting on your mask and you're scratching your way through each day.
Why do you think people are so hesitant and scared to be transparent?
Stigma, shame, stigma
But
and shame.
but the truth is 80% of people, like you said, if that is accurate, 80% of people are going through similar things, and yet we still think somehow we're abnormal. We think our pain is unique.
It's unique or different.
But it
and-
isn't.
That's
Now,
right.
you mentioned about a naval career. So you were in the Navy for how long?
11 years.
11 years, okay. Now, we live, obviously, in a military town with the Coast Guard base here in Elizabeth City. I did not know this, and except I've learned over the last few years that many people in the military are hesitant to admit some of the struggles that they have because of that label that would get attached to them, and it could jeopardize
Their career.
their promotions
Yes.
and their positions and
Yes.
some of the clearance they have for different
Yes.
places.
And that's exactly all.
Okay.
That's
So
everything that
just
drove me. Yes.
More incentive to bury and
Oh, yes.
cover and hide.
Yes, cover and hide and
drink
bury.
it away or whatever you got to
Yes.
do. Wow.
Yes, exactly. And you do. You numb out the pain. When you have when you don't have any tools in your toolbox, you start reaching for the unhealthy tools.
Yeah. And there's a lot of
And
that.
there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that. So I look together now, but I still fight the depression and the
Yeah.
anxiety. Luckily, I have worked with my doctors and have been in therapy and found
Okay,
home
so that's
here.
really important what you're
Yes.
saying. That this is a holistic approach.
Yes.
That nobody, and we're certainly not saying at Forest Park, that come to Forest Park and hear
Yes.
messages about love and grace.
And it's all gonna be
and everything's
wonderful.
going to be okay, and you can stop the therapy and stop the doctors and
No.
stop the medication. No, this is a holistic approach. So you continue with therapists and
Yes.
doctors and medication or whatever. But
Yes.
there was a huge part of you missing, which was the spiritual part.
Yes.
So in some ways that filled in this massive gaping hole in your life, and it
Yes.
came together. So you still continue with the counseling and the doctors and the
Yes.
therapy, and now you've got the spiritual side as well. I think
Yes.
that's very important for people
It's
to understand.
well, and my doctor thinks so too.
Yeah, good.
Because he even said that, and because he's seen me through
Yeah,
this whole,
sure.
and he said, actually, I've weaned off some of the medications.
That's great.
I don't have nearly the, like you said, yes, triggers, bad days,
Yep.
sometimes weeks.
Yep.
They still happen.
Yep.
But I have a support system. I have a family.
Yeah.
I've got people who care,
Right.
who check on me. I've never had that.
Yeah. That's the power of the body of Christ.
That is the power of the body of
we've
Christ.
talked about that in our Awaken group.
Which is the reason why you got to give back.
Yeah.
You got to give
That's
back.
a missing element of a lot of supposed spiritual growth is, especially North America, we've made it so individualistic that it's about
Yes.
my prayer life, my Bible reading, my worship,
Right.
my. But the power is found in the us,
Yes.
us coming together, praying for one another, learning scripture together,
Yes.
asking questions, sharing our doubts, sharing our struggles, sharing our bad days. And your bad Monday could be a great Monday for me. And you
Right.
can lean on my strength.
Yes.
And then, when I have a bad Monday, and I can lean on yours.
Right.
That's the power of the body.
Yes. And
That's
I
beautiful.
hadn't experienced that before.
Yeah.
So when I did, I heard the gospel
Yeah.
for the first time. I mean, really heard
It
it.
was good news.
And it was good
Yeah.
news. Yes.
Well, someone listening in the audience, and maybe they're where you were today, they're where you were a few years ago, and I mean, you never know. I have no idea where this message will be shared, how many people will pass it along. What if there's a young lady out there who's just right on the edge of just saying, this life is not worth it, or maybe this man has finally got his son in college now, and he feels like his responsibilities are over, and he thinks life is just not worth going on. Or they grew up in an environment where God and church and everything is just shelved, and they've been there, done that in church in the past. So you could speak to that person. What if they were sitting here, not me, but that person? What would you say to them? What is one thing that you want to get across to that person to give them hope?
Come, walk with me. Find it together.
Yeah.
But it's there. It's not a fairy tale. It's not mythology. It's as real as it gets. Living and breathing.
Yeah.
Christ in us.
Yeah. That's beautiful, Deb. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your story. Maybe one day you could put it down in a book. Let people read the details. Let them process it slowly, because, as a pastor, I've learned there's a lot of people out there who need hope.
Yes.
And you and I have talked before that hope is the one thing
It
that will get
is.
you through.
I mean, when you reach the point of hopelessness,
Yeah.
there's nothing to fight for left. So if that person was sitting across, if you're out there, don't give up.
Yeah.
You're so loved.
Yeah.
You're so loved.
That's great.
And it's a perfect love.
Yeah. Sure.
And it's unconditional.